have you ever thought about why the devil tries so hard to control your thoughts? The way that you think in school, how you think, compliance, what you watch on television, why you think about the way that you think, how you watch, how you consume, why you don't think about certain things, why you think about others, why he pumps you full of garbage, convenience food, wants to make sure that you're high on sugar, caffeine, alcohol, drugs, pornography, entertainment, movies. Why is the devil trying so hard to control our minds? I think the answer might surprise you. You see, sometimes we think, well, it's obvious he just wants to be in control. Maybe that's part of it. Except the devil hates God's purpose. And so we can comfortably assume that everything that he's attempting to do is in an attempt to either lie on God, steal from God, kill God's people, or destroy everything that God has built. Okay, so what do we do about it? It's one thing to complain and to say, oh, well, they're controlling our minds. We have to do this and we have to do that. Well, you just don't let them. Okay. Yeah, just don't let somebody control your mind. Understood. How are we actually battling against that, though? Are we reading books? Are we writing? Are we filling our minds with the knowledge of the Most High God? And even if we are we actually using it effectively? Because to know something is one thing, to understand it is another, to actually be able to discern is the next level, but the one that we're really searching for is wisdom, the skill, the invention. We can say some people know, few people understand, even less can discern, and only the select few have the wisdom and the skill to actually perform what God is desiring them to perform in their lives. Jarrett, what does this have to do with Satan controlling our minds? You see, if Satan is doing everything he possibly can to control our minds, maybe the Bible showed us or taught us how to think, how to use our minds so that we can accomplish God's purpose and God's will for our lives, so that we can invest our physical, mental, spiritual, and financial into God's purpose, that we can create a solution that we might be of service to others, that we can create the dream life for ourselves and for our children. We can be good parents, those who create wealth, who create generational wealth for not just our children, but our children's children. And that's what I want to talk about today, is the system that God laid out in Genesis chapter 1 for right thought, for how he actually desires us to think. God has placed within you an exceptional talent, a supernatural talent, an invisible and godly talent, that which makes you the image of God. And that's your imagination. This is the treasure trove. This is the storehouse. This is the source of transformation for us as instruments into the physical, to manifest the will of the invisible into the physical and the material and the worldly realm. So how do we use it? How do we access this treasure, this talent that God has given us? Well, in Genesis chapter 1 through verse 5. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved across the face of the waters. And then God said, let there be light. And God saw the light and that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And he called out to the light day, and he called out to the darkness night. And there's morning and evening on the first day. So what's really interesting about this is that if we really study, if we really dive into what the word is saying here, God is laying out exactly how we should create, exactly how we should use our imagination, because where did God create all things from? Oh, that's right, his imagination, his source. Created everything out of purpose, intention, and imagination. So we should probably figure out how to be like God. What's really interesting is that the first and foremost thing that God tells us about himself is not that he's holy. It's not that he's powerful. It's not that he's good. It's not that he's just. It's not that he's a warrior. It's that he is creative. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Everything comes from purpose. There is nothing that has ever been done in existence without purpose. Whether that the source of that purpose is, I don't really care, or whether it's, I want to change the world, there's still a purpose for each. And so, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Why? I believe it was to create a good inheritance for his son, so that when he gets married, he has an inheritance. He's going to receive a good wedding gift from his father. I believe that the Bible is 100% God-centric. It's not about man. It's not about God saving man. It's about God fulfilling his purpose, which is the Father's love for the Son. That's what I believe the Bible to be. You can believe whatever you want. It is the most accurate from my studies, from everything that I know, that God does not serve man, man serves God. Therefore, the Bible must be God-centric. And that means that everything in the Bible must be serving God's purpose. Okay, the Father's love for the Son, because the kingdom of heaven is like a marriage. The kingdom of God is like the marriage supper. I won't go into all of that right now. But here's the thing. God's purpose came before the Bible. God's purpose came before creation. Purpose always comes before creation. Purpose also always comes before intention. Well, what's intention? So the definition that I have for intention, because sometimes it's difficult to think about, to set your intentions on something. Like, oh, does that mean to focus on something? Well, kind of, right? Definitely focus is part of that. Intention actually represents investment. Why do I say that? Because the physical is created out of the invisible. The physical isn't created from the physical. It didn't create itself. It didn't just like magically poof into existence. The physical is made from and out of the invisible. So what does that mean? That means in God's purpose, he used the materials of the invisible to create an asset, to create something in the physical that would go on to produce fruit, right? There's a return on the investment. That's the idea, is that when we set our intentions on something, we're investing who we are into it. So that means our physical, right? Our bodies, our mental, our minds, our imagination. We're investing our financial, all the money that we have in order to be able to buy back our time. And then our spiritual, going out and fighting the good fight is probably the best way to explain it. Using your purpose to serve others in the highest capacity possible so we can pull down the strongholds of the principalities of darkness in high places. And then provide inspiration, right? So we have that laid out. Intention is investment. So first we have our purpose. Then we set our intention, we put our investments into it. What comes next? So this is something that's really interesting because it's not actually going to come from inside, it's going to come from external, it's going to come from outside. This is disruption. So what we can do internally is prepare. We can prepare ourselves for disruption, for interruption. What do I mean? Anytime you set out to do anything good, anything productive, anything creative, there's 100% chance that you are going to face some sort of interruption or disruption. Whether that's something like something falling on the ground, or you forgetting something, or like something bad happening, right? An obstacle appearing in the way. How do I know this? And how do I know that's 100% guarantee? Because when God created, it happened to him. And if it happened to him, I can expect 100% for it to happen to me, because I am not greater than God. Okay. God's purpose to create abundance, to create an inheritance for his son, for the wedding. You can think of it like the dowry too, right? Whatever the mental process you need to put on that. The intention, he invested the physical, he invested the invisible to create the physical. Okay. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. What does that mean? That word, and the earth was, right? That word right there is to become. It became void, which means that Satan, most likely, attempted to destroy the earth, attempted to destroy God's creation. Okay, cool. At least we know now. Like, I want you to pause right there just for 1 second. Think about how many times you have set out to do something or to create something or to build something for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones, and something bad happened. It seemed like nothing was going your way. And you, instead of seeing it for what it was, because you didn't have the right framework, nobody had told you, you saw it as, well, this must be a sign that I'm not supposed to do this. This must be a sign from the universe. Oh, this must be a sign from God. This must be a sign that I'm not supposed to be doing this. When the fact of the matter is, when disruption comes, you stand firm, because every single disruption, every single obstacle has been given to you to prove and to show off the might and the power that God has given you to overcome obstacles in order to achieve your objectives. Let me say that again. Every single obstacle that comes into your life that tries to stand in your way, every giant, every demon, every death, every loss, every single one is for you to show off for God that the strength in you, that he created a worthy creation. See it as a gift, because there's nothing that happens on earth that is not ordained by God. Nothing. Everything is ordained by God. Even the obstacles, even the loss. And so when we begin to hold on to this and accept this and embrace this as a gift, as this is part of the process, this is the process of riches, this is the process of wealth, this is the process of abundance, this is the process of God and God's goodness and God's glory and God's grace and God's creation, what we will begin to do is we will prepare for the disruption and openly embrace it, because we know we're doing something good. So we prepare. Here's what's really interesting. What comes after disruption? It's meditation. We have to meditate on what's going on. We have to meditate on the disruption. We have to meditate on the interruption. We have to meditate on the loss, the death, whatever it looks like. We have to meditate on the obstacle. And God moved across the face of the waters. He brooded, is the word there. It's like a hen over her eggs, a hen over her chicks. Like, was brooding over. Well, we can brood over something, right? You've heard, like, okay, you're brooding over it. You're thinking on it. Same thing. David often talks about meditation, meditating on the commandments of God. Meditation is good, not, right? Like meditation, sitting on, thinking about the interruption so that the inspiration can come through from God to create a solution for that interruption. So what happened? God meditated, and then what happened? Inspiration. Let there be light. And God said, let there be light. And then there was a solution. And then there was light. And the light was good. The word good in Hebrew means functional. The light works. The white light solves. The light provides. And so we have our purpose, intention, preparation for interruption, destruction, disruption, meditation, and then comes inspiration. Here's what's really neat. From inspiration, we can invent. We can invent is invention. We can then we can transform the inspiration of God into a physical solution to be able to serve the people we are called to serve greater than we ever could have possibly imagined. We can transform the energy of God, the inspiration of God. I believe it's the first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. Okay, so we cannot create energy, nor can it be destroyed. But energy can be transformed. Would we agree that Jesus came so that there might be transformation? I think so. Transformation from sinner to saved, from unrighteous to righteous, from sick to healed, from poor to rich, to lame to functional, from deaf to speaking, from blind to seeing, from deaf to hearing. Came for transformation. We serve a transformative God. And so now we're getting really clear on how we're supposed to use our minds, our imagination, why we're supposed to live in our creative space. Do you see that even though the devil does everything he possibly can to fill your minds with pornography, with drugs, with junk food, with sports, celebrities, gossip, bad news, death, rape, sickness, disease, all of the negativity, the second that you get your mind in alignment, do you see how powerful it is? Because it's of God. No one can overcome it. Nothing can overcome it. You see, what's really interesting is when the Tower of Babel was being built, God came down and said, because they have common language, anything that man sets their mind to, they'll be able to accomplish. You see, nothing is impossible for us. I'm actually going to take it one step further. Do you know where the name Israel came from? Israel came from when Jacob wrestled with God himself. Do you know why God gave Jacob the name Israel? He said, because you have strived with princes and with God and have prevailed. Man has prevailed over God one time. And as a result, he earned the blessing of he who will rule like God. Genesis 32:37, I believe. Either 32:32 or 32:37. Basically, if you want to confirm it, just look up when Jacob's name turns to Israel and what God says. We are so immensely powerful that impossible is legitimately nothing for us. When we begin to understand the laws of energy, when we begin to understand why with God nothing is impossible, we can tap into an ability to where we can serve the people we're called to serve at the highest level, the highest purpose, the highest possible level. And do you know what? I'm going to share this with you. I know it's controversial in the Christian community. You're allowed to get paid for it. A man is worthy of his meat. A man is worthy of his meat. God addeth a blessing, or rather, God's blessing bringeth riches, and he addeth no sorrow to it. You're allowed to become rich. You're allowed to live the life of your dreams. God desires it. Because if it wasn't the case, if riches weren't good, you know what the blessing of God would bring? The blessing of God would bring poverty. And if the blessing of God brings poverty, I can only imagine what that heaven would look like. If in that God's character is poverty, what the eternal place would look like. You see, riches are good because God is good, because his blessing brings riches. And it's okay to exchange your value, your gifts, your genius, your service into the world for money. Why? Because then you can begin to dismantle everything that evil is doing. You can begin to dismantle the principalities in high places. It's an incredible, the devil has done an incredible job in convincing good people that they shouldn't be rich, so that evil people become rich, so that they can control the narrative, so that they can control the world. What an fantastic display of wit and guile. Convince God's people that they should be poor so that you can enrich evil people to be able to control the narrative and keep God's people poor and under control, hating God, believing that poverty is for them, creating an idol of poverty, creating an idol of man. Oh, greed and money are one and the same. There are plenty of greedy poor people. I'm sure you've met them. Our minds. Purpose, intention, preparation for disruption, meditation, inspiration. We'll receive our inspiration from God. We don't have to try. We don't have to I need the solution. As we're meditating on the problem, the inspiration will come to us. Then we communicate it. We speak it. We write it down. We have faith that this is what God has shared with us. Our joyful anticipation in our expectation that the inspiration that God has given us is good and will create goodness and riches in the world. It'll help the people that we are called to serve. I encourage you, take back control of your mind. Stop letting the devil fill your mind. Use this as your framework for your thought process. Watch how your life changes. Don't let them distract you. Don't let them fill you. Don't let them pump you full of junk. Use your mind, because the only one who can stop your blessing is you. Remember, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. If you don't want to be rich, at least make your children rich. I pray that you're blessed in the mighty name of Jesus, and that you're covered by his blood, that your might is strengthened and your abundance is multiplied. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care and God bless. Bye now.